Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to do some router work, not too much, and mostly scroll saw work on cutting out these two bear cubs. They're hard to see on here. You just about make out the image there, and the idea they will sit against a fence, and when we cut the legs out, they will come down like so. It'll be clearer, hopefully, when I remove the tracing paper. Now, the reason I've used tracing paper today is because my fencing wood, and this is what this is on today, it's only quite rough when you buy it. If I can just show you quickly, this is a rough old fencing wood we use, and I have to spend 10 minutes to sand it all down with a belt sander, and it comes up really nice, as you can see from there. So, fencing wood today. Now, this is a scroll saw pattern. Now, originally, a Steve Good pattern. If you go on their site, you will find it, Steve Good catalogue. Normally, you would cut out the inner sections of the ear on a scroll saw, and this would all be cut out with a scroll saw, and the same with the other cub, the smaller one here. So that would be cut out on a scroll saw, the eyes and the two ears, and then you would attach a thin backer to it. So imagine this would be your wood cut out on wood. You will sit it on a backer, and that coloured wood would show through these sections you've cut out. But for me, we're going to route these out today, just so it keeps it one solid piece, and it is on good old fencing wood. And I printed it on tracing paper only because I found the image on Steve Good's site, and I could zoom it out to how big I want it on my tablet, or your laptop I suppose. Place a tracing paper on, and you can actually draw around it, just copying the image off the tablet. And I know that's 6 inches size of my screen on my tablet, and that is just enough to fit on there. And then we've stuck it down, bit of good old carbon paper underneath, and I've literally just gone around this with a pen, and for me that is spot on for transferring the image on, as you can see. And also you can use that over and over again should you want to make a couple more in the future. And there's our image just nicely transferred. So we have our small little cub here, and one of those is legs, one's the other one, and that leg belongs to the other piece. This was one long piece, but I've just cut it in half just to make it easy for me. And there's the bigger one of the two. It'll sit facing him when it finally gets put on the fence. Now, you did notice there with the eyes, the reason they've been made like that, because, like I say, that would have cut out on a scroll saw. And if you didn't have those little sections at either side, they would have been floating about, what we call floaters, and they would have been stuck down to the backer separately. Now, I was tempted just to cut round that with the router and make the owl stand out alone, but I'm just going to go for it the way it is and route out these sections instead of cutting them out on a scroll saw. And if you get yourself a pencil, just to make sure, you might be tempted just to colour these in, just so we know what pieces we want to remove. So we'll do the little router bit first before we cut it out. That way you're just leaving yourself plenty of wood for the router to fit on. Now, for this little bit, we're going to use a good old CNC bit. You know I like these CNC router bits. Now, they do come with a small shaft on them of 3.175. So you will need what they call an adapter reducer. Call it 6.35mm. That literally just fits into there. Now, that will fit your 1/4 inch router, no problem. If your router takes 1/2 inch bits, then obviously you're going to need a bigger adapter. So we'll set it to maybe 3mm. We'll go around all these lines. Once that's done, we'll pop on, as always for me, a little end milling bit. They have the same size shaft on, so obviously they fit the adapter, and we will just set it to the same depth and literally just route out these sections here. And then that will be it for the router side of things. And then we'll come in with a scroll saw. We'll talk about that near the time, and basically cut all these bits out, and we'll round them off, bit of sanding, bit of stain, fasten them all together, and then we can go and sit them on the fence. But for now, we'll pop the CNC bit back in, set it up on the router. I do have a little template thing over here, what I call my little depth gauge. That is literally about 3mm, that one there, I think, because that is the same flush with the actual CNC bit. So we can sit our router on there, set it to that depth, and that's plenty deep enough, and do our lines first. And like I say, we'll come in with that afterwards, once I've picked it off the floor. Right, so we've got the router bit, the CNC bit in the router in our adapter collet. You can see from there, and it's roughly about 3mm, maybe slightly less. On this one I just did a couple of samples, and that's one we're going to go for. The one just fits on there nice like so. So we'll do all our lines first now quickly, and then we'll go on with the end milling bit, do the clear out, and like I say, that will be it for the router side of things. Right, so we've gone round with the CNC bits. That took a matter of minutes. All round there, look, round the eyes, inside the ears. And obviously we've done that on both pieces, like so. So now it's a simple case of popping in one of our end milling bits so we can remove the CNC bit from that adapter collet. You'll get a lot more pieces out of that. And we're just going to pop in one of these. It doesn't have to be too big. Let's go with that one there. Now I've got these older ones that come with that barrier. I actually purchased them now without the barrier, and I actually have some in here. If I can just show you quickly. There we go. These are the newer ones. They come without the barrier now, but they are exactly the same thing. Right, we'll pop that back in the router, set it to that little depth there, one that we decided, and basically just route out the remainder of these sections. Right, that's all the routing out. That has got to be one of the quickest router parts of a section I have done. But remember, this originally is a scroll saw pattern, so you would have cut that out completely and just put our little 3mm backer on to get the same effect. But obviously this is quite chunky and just fencing wood. So we've achieved the same effect literally by a couple of minutes on the router, and the wood has ended up as one solid piece and not having a little backer stuck to it and all the rest of it. So, and the same with that one there. I've left those eyes eventually. I was tempted just to route out them as 2 circles, but from a distance I think we'll get away with that once we put all our stain on and stuff. Right, now we just got to simply cut this out on a scroll saw. It's a good thickness to it. I don't know what fencing wood is, to be honest. We'll have a quick look now, see what we've got. So that's 3/4 of an inch thick, so it'll cut through steady away, and it just cut nicely. You can see there we've actually cut it in half just to make it a bit easier for me. Now my choice of blades, as you know, will be the spiral blades, pegas number 5. Now those blades spiral the full length, so you can cut in any direction. We could start there, and if you cut up there and go around that just like that without moving the wood too much. With the other 2 blades, which is obviously your pinless one, if I can find one, a pin blade should I say first. Good old pin blades there. Remember, your blade wants to be smooth on the way down and rough on the way up. That way you know you've got it in the right way. That can be used on this one, no problem whatsoever. There's nothing too detailed. And the more professional boys, they come in with the pinless blade, really thin. They can do some fantastic work with that. But my choice will be the spiral blade, which is just here again. You can just see those lovely spiral teeth at full length. But unfortunately, my old drapper in the corner, it only takes pin blades, so I have to use these adapter clamps at top and bottom. On something like this, it's no problem. Once that's set up on your saw, we can literally just come in from the side and start cutting these out. When you do a lot of inner cuts, where you've done a pilot hole, say we're cutting out the centre of the beer there, you have to use the Allen key, undo that, that slides off, feed it through your pilot hole, pop that back on, tighten it up, and then feed all that onto your saw. It's a bit inconvenient, but we make it work. So, peggers for me. We'll set this all up on the scroll saw and basically cut all the rest of it out. Right, so we've got our blade set up in the saw, as you can see, even with spirals, smooth on the way down, rough on the way up. And there's our adapter clamps, top and bottom, and they just literally hook onto that chrome hook thingy just there. We've got that nice pin ping, we've got a nice tension on it. We've got our little airline that comes down there eventually. Right, let's cut these out. I do find with thicker wood, it's obviously a slower cut, but you get a better cut. Any little 3.6mm pieces, these spirals can definitely run away on you. So, for me personally, the thicker the wood, the better. Okay, let's cut the rest of this project out. Right, there's all our cutting done on the scroll saw, as you can see from that. Funny wood today. It's been a while since I've done fencing wood. Excuse me, I forgot what I'm using then. And I didn't notice as I was cutting it round, as we've got the different grains here, it would tighten up, then go quite fast, and then slow down and go fast as it was cutting through the different grains of the wood. But we got away with it, and it's not the smoothest as cuts. I'm more of a router than a scroller. But it's nice to try different things. And you can just see in there maybe just a bit jiggy. What word can we use that? It's a bit rough. It's a bit jiggy, let's say. It's not the smoothest of cuts. But I personally just think that's the grain. As it gone through different sections of grain, the blade slowed down then it speeded up and then slowed down. So it was a bit hit and miss, but it's cut it out. That's no problem. That's what sander's for. So you can see roughly our two little cubs here, like that. They are flat, remember, because they're going to sit on a flat fencing like that. So for general tidy up now, I will go around with some of these engraving bits. These are just cheap eBay specials, and I like to use one with a nice flat bottom, set in the flexi cable which is attached to the end of my Dremel. So I'll use that, just give those a quick tidy up in there, and then we'll get the mouse sander, sort it out, and on the back we'll get our little fluffies after a second with sandpaper like so. And I want to round these off the best we can. So we put it together quickly just to show you roughly what the idea will be. So that will be one, and the other one will be steering at it, and hopefully let's just sort the right legs out. That leg will go on there roughly like that, and I think the smaller of the two. That one goes on there, and that one will pop on there, and obviously that leg will pop on there, and we'll have them sat on the fencing, the support of the fence that will go. Same thickness, remember, same kind of wood, so it should fit really nice. Wonder what that was then. I thought we had a pellet shot in there somewhere, but it's a bit of a not in the wood, and we'll see how that fits out. But before that, nice big tidy up, round these edges off, and we'll look into the staining and oil side of things. Right, that's enough sanding down for me. At one time I was going to get the Dremel with a sanding drum and round those off a lot more, but for a little project for the garden, that's going to be more than plenty. You can see there I've tried a bit of stain on the back, see what it looks like. So now it's just a case of colouring them. I've got to go for just a bit of boiled linseed oil. I did try that darker stain there. I do think that the light teak, should I say, I do apologise, the light teak maybe a bit too dark against the dark teak. So we want these inner sections to be a bit lighter. So we're going to go for linseed oil on those, and the rest of the piece nice dark teak. So we'll just do the inner sections first, so just nice and steady, just enough to say we've put a bit of colour in there, and it's subtle, but it is enough to show that we've done it. I just think the light teak might just be a bit too much, so we can just put that there. Make sure we get all those side walls, and the same for everything else. It doesn't matter if we get too much on there, we're going to come over that with the dark teak. So we'll do the inner sides first on both pieces, and then literally just come in with the dark teak and complete the rest. Right, that dark teak is nicely dried. Now I've had to go over this twice, just because it is fencing wood. It definitely soaked in. You can just see the one coat against the two. There's just a slight difference. At one time I was going to use a timber care product, a brown one that I normally do my fencing with, funny enough, just to make it really dark. Or you could use black paint, and there could be black beards just as easy. But I'm going to leave all these lines and all this grain showing through, especially around there. So that's going to be it for your staining side of things. But like I say, I would have preferred a more solid colour, but we're going to take our chance once the spray varnish goes on. Now people have messaged before and said, why don't you put it all together first? And you could do, you could put this all together. I'm actually going to use screws on this. We're going to put a screw through the back of the beer straight through to his leg and screw it together like so, and then spray varnish. I just prefer to spray my things separately, just so we can get all the way around inside these legs, around the body, inside there. Better than putting it all together, then spraying it. Just the way I do things, so you'll find what works for you. So obviously we want a nice shiny finish on it. These aren't the best for outdoor projects, but it is fencing wood at the end of the day, so we're just basically more going for a shine and a little bit of protection, but they won't last forever. Ideal for indoor projects, but not for out. So we'll do a quick coating here, just to darken these down a bit. And then we'll go outside. It's a lovely, beautiful, sunny day today. And we'll go outside, do the rest, and we'll get all those side sections done as well. Right, all that varnish is nicely dried. You do find the side sections, they take a lot of soaking in, but for rough old fencing wood, I'm quite happy just to leave that like that. We've got a nice shine on there, as you can see. If this was an indoor project, this would be perfect. Obviously for outdoors, it's only going to last for so long, but for rough old fencing wood, like I say, it's no problem. Now we're going to apply the legs to our little cubs. Now, I'm going to mess about. Sometimes you might want to be a bit further up, a bit further down, in, out. I basically put them where I think they're going to look okay. And I've literally just popped on a bit of painter's tape at either side, because I'm going to screw these on from the back. So there's our little pre-section holes. We're going to drill into those, and then the screws will go into the back. And obviously, we haven't made them too long that they will go through the other side. So just beware of that. Daft as it sounds, it can still get caught out. We put a long screw through and come through the other side. So we've marked these off. So we're just going to literally pre-drill these on both pieces. Just a standard drill, nothing fantastic to show there. And then we will come in from the back with our 8 screws. Obviously, if screws aren't your thing, bit of wood glue, clamp that down. It's just as easy. But for me, no glue, just a couple of screws. Right, I'll drill all these holes, get it all set up, and then when we come back, we can pop our screws in, and this little project will be finished. Right, that's it. This little project is finished. Now 2 screws is more than plenty. That is not going to go anywhere. And we countersunk the backs just with a little dremel there with a round engraving bit on. That's just enough. So those screw heads disappear nicely into the back and everything's nice and smooth. Should it go up against a fence or wall or whatever. So no glue needed, a couple of screws, that is plenty. And that's it, we are finished. So the bear cubs, we routed out first on fencing wood, just with those little CNC bits and end milling bits, just for the clear out. Remember, this is a scroll saw pattern on Steve Good catalogue. If you search that online, you'll find this pattern and plenty more to go at. Once you've done the little routing out bit, obviously with the scroll saw, that would have been all cut out and a little backer put underneath. But for me personally, we routed it out just so easy. And that way, it's on one solid piece of wood. We then came in with our, remember, Pegas number 5 spiral blade. Any blade will cut this out, I assume. Flat blade, pin blades, or whatever. Nothing too complicated there. And then we stained it all with the dark wood stain for the main bear. Good old linseed oil. That's always been a favourite of mine. Just enough to say we've done inside the eyes and the nose there, as you can see. And then we came in with our spray varnish 151. I do believe there was another one on this one, gloss varnish. And that's just enough to give it a shine. For me personally, I think it just finishes those little projects off. And that's it, we are done. So the bigger the bear, he comes in at 12 inches by 6. And the little chap over there, that comes in at 9 inches by 6. And remember, they're just made on rough old fencing wood. I purchased mine a couple of days ago here in the UK, and I paid £2.50 for a 6 foot length. And that's a lot of projects to make. Just nice little fun things. Okay, we're going to find a space for these, and we'll move on to the next one. Thank you very much for watching.